Back in 2020, I started a blog where I post a recap of my top 15 or so favorite albums of the year.
Good idea.
Also, I set a goal to follow through with doing one annually for the next 10 years, all leading up to a penultimate best of the decade list once 2030 arrives.
Nice.
They're fun to put together, but when I go back to visit them, I say, damn, I gotta read all this? And then I thought, shit. That's probably how everyone else feels when I chef up another 30-minute gauntlet every year and then beg them to take a gander. I'm from the TikTok generation, man. We don't like to read. We like being read too, you know what I'm saying? We're still sitting down on the carpet for story time. Except it's not Magic Treehouse anymore. It's some Reddit story that someone definitely made up, and it's being read to you by robot AI voice while you watch someone do Minecraft parkour. Unfortunately, my website doesn't let me put Family Guy clips below your browser, nor does it let me stick an audiobook option there for you. So in an effort to get more with it, I'm doing a video this year. Also, yes, after this version is done, I'm going to make videos for all the previous years too, presumably with some tweaks, updates, and added notes about how well stuff is aged or not. Okay, let's get down to business. These are my honorable mentions. MJ Lenderman's Manning Fireworks is a pretty decent follow-up to 2022's Boat Songs. It also features the very effective wristwatch. George Clanton and TV Girl had a nice effort near the buzzer. It's the kind of quality content you'd expect from each of them. Also, gotta give a nod to Future and Metro Boomin's We Don't Trust You. Not only is it consistently good, it's also responsible for recatalyzing the greatest rap beef this century has seen so far. Richie with the T's, Triple Digits, also deserves a mention because
We're
injury reserve.
guys, of course we go shopping while eating.
Never mind. That How song is amazing, and I used Get a Fade for the trailer of the latest film I made, so yeah. Schoolboy Q's Blue Lips, which should not go unnoticed as a contribution to the phenomenal year West Coast hip-hop had. Crazy to say that our old pal Schoolboy may have entered underrated territory. I've got something here for all my house music people. True Magic by Salute. I'm not usually a sucker for this genre, but this is the best house music I've heard all year, hands down. Also wanted to give a shout out to Future Islands on people who aren't there anymore. God, I love the Swedes. I actually discovered these guys a few years ago, thanks to this banger song called For Sure. This album captures a lot of the spacey, upbeat nature I loved about that track. It's so nice and warm. It puts me in a great mood and gets my tummy feeling all fuzzy. If you're a big synth head, and you want to be sung to by a lovely Swedish man, this is the record for you.
Hot take alert.
I know I can get flamed for this, but that's why they call it a hot take, man. Before we get started, there's one more thing I'd like to share with all of you. I did not care for Imaginal Disc by Magdalena Bay.
Hold on.
As much as other people did, I still don't think it's bad per se. It just
It insists upon itself, Lois.
What?
It insists upon itself.
What does that even mean?
no, but really, I don't know if I just don't like the vocals from Mika or the catchiness just isn't there. This seems like it should be for me, but I don't know. Maybe it's gonna fully click with me one day, but today is not that day. All right, kicking off our true top 15 at number 15, we've got Matt Champion's Mika's Laundry. I juggled around with giving this a full spot or throwing it in honorable mentions because this is a flawed project, but I just kept coming back to it all year. That Aphid song with Dijon was the anthem to my summer for some reason. I do think Matt is biting Dijon just a tad on a few songs here, but honestly, he explores a lot of sounds, and most of the time he does it quite well, so I'll give that a pass. This is easily the most complete solo work to come from any Brockhampton member post-breakup. I'm excited to see how Matt can evolve with all of the different genres he plays around with, because this is a promising debut that can lead in a multitude of directions for him. Number 14 is JPEG Mafia's I Lay Down My Life For You. This is a darker, even more industrial effort than we're used to seeing from Peggy, almost sort of like Veteran, but maybe with more of a metal/hardcore rock angle. The experimental and noisy production you'd expect is all still there. This guy is such a model of consistency by now, it's very hard to imagine this not on my list. The creativity within the production might just be peak for Peggy this time too. Taking a blues AI cover of Turn on the Lights by Future and making it work this well is diabolical. Number 13, No Worries with Why Lord. Anderson .Paak and Knowledge are teaming up again for the smoothest slide you'll ever go down. Neo Soul seems to be this category they're throwing everything into nowadays, but I'd say this fits the description better than most because it's hard to find a record this new and soulful in 2024. I told you the West Coast had it unlocked this year. This feels like it should be listened to in sunglasses on a beanbag chair. It's funky, it's laid back, it's somewhat serene, and quite catchy. Each guy is in their bag here, doing what they do best, but what takes this to the next level for me is how each feature fits in so nicely. Thundercat, Snoop Dogg, even Dave Chappelle does the intro. And Walk On By featuring Earl Sweatshirt might be my song of the year. I'm not kidding. What a way to close an album out. Number 12, it's Beyonce with Cowboy Carter. I'm actually going to go out on another limb here and say that this is at least on par, if not sometimes better than Renaissance. It feels more like a Beyonce in her natural state. She's clearly got a place in her heart for the more countryist genre, and her Houston roots really show. I'm just so impressed with how long this album is and how well it keeps my attention for mostly the entire runtime. There aren't too many weak spots, and I'd say if there are, they're mostly at the beginning. This is consistently strong and would quite frankly instantly be a lot of artists' best body of work, especially in the country realm. Lemonade exists, so it's not that for Queen Bee, but it's up there. Number 11, we have Porter Robinson, Smile! No, but yeah, bro, this is almost cringe. It is walking the tightrope of cringe, but that's exactly what makes it awesome. Let's be honest, Porter has moved on from anything electronic. This is just pop. It's because it strikes that perfect balance of not so self-serious and always putting good sounds at the forefront that I love this so much, though. That cheerleader cut. There is a thin veil between this universe and the one where this is a big time Rush song. Seriously though, Porter's last release, Nurture, just barely made my list back in 2020, but if I were to do some re-ranking, I'd actually have it up there way higher because I come back a lot to that one. And I think this release has the same candidacy to be a grower on me because when I look back through my shallowness, I can see how well structured each track is. Porter cares so much about the craft, and if you can see that and let go of any uptightness you might have, this could be your album of the year. Number 10 is Denzel Curry's King of the Mischievous South, Volume 2. And let's be honest, dude, it's a Denzel Curry project. It's gonna be on my year-end list. If he decides to drop, he deserves a spot. Oh shit, that was kind of a bar. See, Denzel Curry is that inspirational. This isn't the heart-to-heart melt my eyes may have been, but I always appreciate when there's a commitment to just making a track list of bangers. As you may be able to discern, there is more of a southern flavoring to this one. Not that the rest of Denzel's music doesn't have that. This is just way more pronounced. From the instrumentals to the features, this is the type of mixtape you'd expect to come from South Florida. Number 9 goes to Samurai by Lupe Fiasco, and wow, the Lupe renaissance continues. I feel like he's really in his bag with this jazzy, smooth, somewhat more abstract sound because the bars shine brighter, and it creates an atmosphere that I could sink into for hours with all of these laid-back beats. This feels like a night in with Lupe Fiasco. Am I weird for saying a Tiny Desk concert with Lupe wouldn't hit so different? I also love this particular record because it's compact and not overbloated in the slightest. There's really no swing and miss here, except at the end of track 2, I swear. It plays the iPhone alarm sound for like 30 seconds straight. At the end, it's infuriating. Whoever thought they should keep that in there, what is wrong with you? Oh boy, I'm excited for this one because at number 8 is Joey Valence and Bray with No Hands. If you're into 90s rap like the Beastie Boys or Wu-Tang Clan, this might be something worth checking out. I'd almost mistake this for something straight from that era if it weren't for all of the references to current day. This is that mid-school hip-hop for the new generation. I mean, we've got nods to Master Chief, Pokemon cards, Olivia Rodrigo, Double XP Weekend, Silly Bands, Top Golf, Danny Phantom, Lil Uzi Vert, and numerous lines about Ben 10. It's like 13-year-old me made an album, and I mean that in the best way possible. I normally wouldn't even be giving this high of praise to such a silly album if the songwriting wasn't genuinely incredible. The structure of each track, every chorus, the way transitions work, it's all professional as hell, and yet it seems just easy for these guys. It feels like they truly are doing it with no hands. Plus, the way these songs are constructed, you're kind of just waiting to see what stupid-ass line, reference, or joke they're going to fire off next. I would like to give a special shout-out to the bar.
How much swag do I got? Million. You ain't fancy, son? Squilliam.
This had my head between my knees. Possibly the most fun album of the year, hands down. No hands. Hands. Number 7, man. Two Star and the Dream Police by McGee. If you liked Absolutely by Dijon as much as I did, then this is going to be the next album you press play on if you haven't already. McGee, aka Mike Gordon, is one of a kind. Nobody is making music like this guy. It's somewhat nostalgic, but futuristic with these twangy guitars and dreamy pop rock chords. It's nearly lo-fi perfection, but still rough around the edges enough for it to feel genuine and homemade. Mostly every idea here works, and you end up getting a catchy ass little tune to fake strum along to. I will say I hate that Riley and I song. I'm sorry, it's so annoying. Maybe it's because Riley is spelled wrong, but luckily Candy comes right after, so I'm not too upset. This guitar tone and vintage aesthetic that Mike uses with the instrumentation could very well be about to set some trends. It seems like a lot of my favorite artists had this album on their Spotify Wrapped lists, so I don't know. Number 6, and it's probably way lower than you want it, but it's Brat by Charli XCX. Okay, hang on. I would have 2019's Charli at number 1 for that year's list if it weren't for Igor, and how I'm feeling now was at the top spot for 2020 until I discovered Pixel Bath. Brat is a sensation, the true moment that turned Charli XCX into a pop culture icon, her biggest commercial success to this date. Brat is a return to form after Crash left so many of her fans with a hollow feeling, including myself. A.G. Cook is back with the production, and once again brings the futuristic bubblegum bass aesthetic, albeit with a more electro house and dance pop vibe this time. If I'm being honest though, I still think this quality of music pales in comparison to the run she went on from 2016 to 2020. Given that choice, I would choose any LP from that period. This was a moment in music I'll likely never forget though. Charli went on a parade with all of these deluxe tracks and remixes following Brat's huge success, a lot of which are amazing. The Everything is Romantic remix with Caroline Polachek is sort of life-changing, and I'm not sure I've heard anything like it. We also finally got the 365 remix with Shy Girl. Way too late in the cycle, mind you, but I'm happy it's here because it's insane and makes me want to tear down the walls. I love Charli XCX. I love her music. I have a crush on her too. What? No, my fiance said I could say that, so it's okay because she does too. All right, it's top 5 time, and we have Chromacopia by Tyler, the Creator. Tyler has come out and said that he was inspired by Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers enough to try and make his own version of an honest confrontation with the truth, and that's accurate. Lyrically, this is Tyler's most complicated and emotionally dense LP yet. There's a multitude of revelations, addresses, and even confessions on this one. I think the front 4 tracks are technically immaculate. Darling I is extraordinary work. Tyler does seem to let off the gas afterward during the middle portion of the track list, but it doesn't last long, especially now that I like Sticky. At first it was a little annoying, but now I'm totally down for it. I'm here. Altogether, Tyler has what it takes to be one of the best when all is said and done, and this is just more legacy building from him. I got to attend Camp Flognoth this year again for the 5th straight year, and even seeing him from when the Flower Boy era started to now, we've had to be a bit further back in the crowd each time. This year, I'm not gonna lie, hard to find a spot. But yeah, being as big as he is now, locking up number 1 slots on Billboard, it's insane. Number 4, surprise album of the year, and something nobody saw coming. Never in my wildest stretch of my imagination did I expect to have a fucking Yeet album on one of these lists, but here we are. 2093. What's crazier is this might even be the best rap album of the year. This is some gritty, neo-noir, dystopian Blade Runner shit. This is the type of shit you'd expect to hear in the back of a hover car chop shop. Those Dune TikTok edits in this album might have to win Best Duo of 2024 because they put in work together. Something about roaming the alien desert in search of redemption, and this just click. The heavy, booming production mixed with Yeat's fairly laid-back delivery make this an easy, cool guy soundtrack for any aspiring sci-fi badass. When this first started getting so much positive traction, I was intrigued, but saw there were like 20 plus tracks, so I remember thinking, even if this is good, there's no way Yeat can be this interesting for over an hour's worth of content. Let me tell you, track after track went by, and this never got dull. In fact, it kind of gets better the further you get. The lyrical content isn't bland either. Yeat talks somewhat candidly about isolating himself in the wake of addiction, and at the emotional center of this, there's somewhat of a sad undertone about loneliness and disconnection. It's ominous and dark, but somehow motivational? This almost feels like this musical generation's Yeezus. Anyways, yeah. I worry we'll never get this version of Yeat again because Lifestyle was blech. But yeah, at least there's this exists, and I'm so happy this exists. Number 3, baby, and it's gotta be Gene Dawson with Glimmer of God. They call me Mr. Gene Dawson. I love Gene. I drop everything when he's in town for a show. He's like my perfect version of an artist. He makes music for me. Not directly for me, obviously, but yeah, you know. So much of what I want meshes so well with this guy. Maybe it's because we're both products of the late 90s and share much of the same influences, but he has the ability to make all sorts of versions of himself. This one on Glimmer of God specifically deals more in a gothic, dreamlike, or nocturnal sound. This almost feels like Pixel Bath after dark. There's a lot of 80s synth layers and other electrical elements mixed in with the guitars and pianos. However, what I think I like most about Glimmer of God are the vocals. Gene went absolutely nuts on this with the singing. I did not know he had range like that. There are some unbelievably beautiful moments on this album that are sometimes completely carried by Gene's voice. The energy and general restlessness that you'd typically expect from a Gene project are all still there, but this LP as a whole has a bit of a depressing sheen as it plays around with themes of death and legacy and religion. You may feel like this is me setting something up to be overrated, but what am I supposed to do when I feel like everything this guy is doing is so underrated? Okay, moving on. Look, you can't talk about music in 2024, much less 2024 in general, without Kendrick Lamar. We bore witness to a war for the ages as Kendrick slung titanic blow after blow with Drake, settling any debate on who the king is right now. We all knew Drake was finished after Not Like Us because it became such a mega hit across the world, but GNX was the planting of the flag. If there was anyone questioning whether this was truly the year of Kendrick's dominance, he wanted to make sure he fully asserted it by dropping this fourth quarter bomb. This is a banger after banger demonstration of West Coast hip-hop turned out to the max. Kendrick is dancing on graves, and he sounds good doing it. The production is a tad more on the minimal side than before, but that's actually a good thing. I think it's the straightforwardness of this release that keeps it from getting too bogged down in any over-ambition or over-complication that Kendrick may occasionally fall into. He doesn't have to put on some gigantic, flashy, multi-part stage production to be the GOAT. He's just gotta do his thing, man. Speaking of multi-part big productions, number 1, I kinda knew this would be at the top as soon as I heard it. It's Diamond Jubilee by Cindy Lee. This shit sounds like a cassette recently recovered from a truck stop in the middle of nowhere and is just now being transcribed. I'm convinced that this plays calmly from an AM radio or something in the background of every one stoplight town in the Midwest. If I were to walk into a diner from the 60s and just kick the jukebox, this is probably what would come out. This is a found footage ass album, and yet it's maybe the most beautiful composition I've ever heard. It's the sound of something you've got lodged deep in your memory, and yet it's somehow brand new. I was intimidated as hell to listen to this because 1, it's not on any streaming services, and 2, it's got 32 fucking tracks and over 2 hours of content. This scared me so much that I put off listening, despite this getting huge praise from major music reviewers such as Pitchfork and the like, but when I finally felt brave enough, I fell in love with this album. Every time I fire this baby up, I immediately lose sight of the length because I'm constantly saying, oh hell yeah, it's this song, and then I'm like, oh hell yeah, it's this song, and then I'm like, oh my god, we're about to be at this song. It reminds me of some of my favorite movies where every scene is just classic, because this provides moment after moment of pure bliss. There is a deep emotional thread woven into this, and immense feelings of longing, loneliness, and reflection, and regret shine through as haunting reverb just blankets everything. The guitar work is fucking incredible. Sometimes I'm just left shaking my head at disbelief of how good this is. Like I said, I immediately knew it would leave a big fat mark on my baboon mind. If you don't feel anything from this, or at the very least don't want to go on a road trip in one of those stupid ass wood paneled cars, I think you might be inhuman. I don't know what to tell you. Alright everybody, that's a wrap for 2024. To me, this year was all about growth, most of that happening through the power of reflection and reveling, I guess. I got engaged this year, and that's a big milestone, man. Next time I make one of these, I'll be married. It's crazy to say. It's times like these that just make you look back on how high your little tree trunk has climbed and how big those branches are getting. You feel me? I know so much of the current age is still mired in uncertainty. I heard way too much shit about AI this year. There was a writer strike, the use of deceased people's assets like voice and style and stuff, and tons of auto-generated visual art. We are definitely being inundated with slop at the moment. Like, why am I listening to Tupac diss Kendrick Lamar? But at a positive angle, I think this has helped us appreciate real and raw human expression even more than ever. And I hope that that same celebration of our little quirks, flaws, and our feelings only grows as technology advances. I hope our interest in what makes us tick will continue to be heightened as artificial creations only saturate our everyday lives. The real will hopefully stand out more and more to us. So yeah, I hope you guys like this format and it's more accessible to you, because I think it was for me. See you on the next one, I guess. And yeah, keep an eye out for the videos recapping previous years, because that is an interest of mine. So, all right, bye. Here's my socials.